What, we're live.
Hey,
Well, I
hey,
wasn't
you
ready.
live.
I wasn't
You
ready.
live.
I wasn't
We
ready.
live. We live.
All
We
right.
live. We live.
We're echoing.
We're echoing. We're not anymore.
All right. Here we go. So we're live. Today's, one of those days. It's been a little crazy. It's got a little weird. We had some catering brought in from Jesse Ray's barbecue already. It's been out of control in the studio. My guests already got locked in the bathroom for a half hour. It's been crazy. So I want to give a special thanks to K-Var. Thank everyone in the K-Var studios, kvar.com. I've had an awesome time. Make sure you like and subscribe. Tune in on iTunes and everywhere podcasts are heard. My guest today amazes me. I'm blown away. It's rare that I'm totally knocked on my ass and starstruck by someone. And a lot of this has to do with the fact that I can barely read. She's written a book. She has, this whole breakdown, and it's really intriguing to me. We're going to get the whole rundown. We have the one and only Kita Busse, who's written the book on movement in shooting. How are you?
What's up, guys?
What's going on? So this is really exciting because this is a topic that comes up a lot in being an efficiency of movement. And we talk about this a lot, especially as it relates to some of the old stodgy fat fucks on the range that manage to get around and shoot and move and do things that we all can't do, that we're amazed by. I'm not talking about you, Max, but I'm talking about, or JJ. But I'm talking about some of the guys that they move incredibly well, even for their size. It's amazing. And she breaks this all down in this book that's over 200 pages. I'm amazed by this. So break
Reading
it all.
is fundamental, John.
So
There's a lot of pictures, too.
Oh, stop. So break it all down to me. I want to talk about this first, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Break it all down to me, the genesis of this. And how this came to be and how this started, because this really intrigues me.
So it was around 2010 I started researching movement, and there just wasn't anything out there for the shooting sports. All of the movement training available and all of the research out there was from other sports. So I tested a lot of those things out on some good shooters and figured out what worked, what didn't, and what didn't really matter either way.
So you start doing almost like these kind of let me call them, like, I don't want to say in a vacuum, but pseudo experiments is what I'm getting at on people. Along the way, what sports were you looking at, or where was the genesis? Like, what did you look at and you were like, wow? Because we all know a distance between 2 points is a straight line, but we see, in other sports, obviously cutting and moving and adjusting and angles of pursuit. What sport do you feel contributed the most to this? Was there any one, or was it multiple different sports?
It really was multiple different sports because, the way you would move most efficiently in any other sport is you point your hips in the direction you want to move. But we've got a gun in our hands, so we have these safety rules we have to follow in this game. And we can't move the way that's the most efficient because we have to point the gun in a certain direction. So I took things from other sports that allow you to move the most efficiently with the gun in your hands pointed in a safe direction.
And what you teach, and you go around and you teach this specifically, it's really unique. It's different. It's exciting. Do you work with some guys that are just so, like take me, for example. I'm disgusting. Do you work with some guys that are so far out of shape and disgusting that there's just no hope for them, or does everybody have hope?
I think everybody can improve whatever level that you're at. I'll meet you there. So if you're 400 pounds, I'm going to meet you there. If you're, 98 pounds and have no muscle on your body, I'll meet you there. I have different drills for different types of movement too, because everyone is built differently. So the way you move the best might not be the way someone else moves the best.
You hear that, Q? There's hope for me.
There's hope.
Even though I'm morbidly obese. In fact, on the way here, Kita and I split. Can I say it?
Yes.
We split a Reese cup on the way here. I'm not going to lie. There was a sugar moment. But we're going to be real here for a second. Can anybody sign up for these courses and train this way and see drastic improvement? Obviously, the short answer is yes. But what is it, 10%, 15%? What are you trying to do? What's the goal by the end of the class?
Well, I do a few different things. I do a couple of resistance drills that improve your baseline fast by an average of 2%. over a period of 6 weeks. But of course, there are always outliers. Some will take a little longer, some will have a higher improvement, some will have less. But usually I see about 5 seconds, well, anywhere between 3 and 16 seconds came off in my last class off of one stage where they're running around shooting about 24 rounds.
And that's super significant in terms of winning and losing. I mean, when you work with folks, I mean, literally, what was it? Was it the Worlds was like decided by 0.1 or something,
yes,
wasn't it?
exactly.
Yeah. So that's tremendously significant. That's amazing. And how long did it take you to write the book?
2 years.
Gee, 2 years. It would have taken us 20 years to write this thing.
It might take 20 to read it.
See, I can't read. I'll never get to the end. But it's amazing, and it's honestly, I flipped through it and I took it, the opportunity to kind of read through some stuff. It breaks down in detail angles of pursuit, how to move, how to cut, and just techniques. And I think it's super, super amazing. What made you just want to literally write the book on movement and shooting? I mean, what was it had to be a catalyst.
After all of the research I did and all of the testing that I did, I felt like my head was going to explode with all of this stuff that was in it, and I just had to get it out and sort of brain dump.
Yeah, it's crazy. And, when you put a book together like this, because I'm so intrigued by it, do you feel like you're going to sell a gazillion of them right away? Do you feel like it's going to tie in with the class really well? I mean, are you just trying to bring that knowledge to the forefront? I mean, how has it been promoting it? Has anyone said like, damn you with a gun? Like, have you had a backlash because of it or anything like that?
Well, I've had a couple. Of course, I've had criticisms.
Sure.
But it's generally been positive feedback.
Good.
It's the first textbook of its kind. I wouldn't call it just a paperback book. It's a textbook.
Right. Yeah, because there's weirdos out there. They'll be like, oh, she wrote a book, How to Move with a Gun. She's going to chase us down in Walmart queue.
Well, what I get a lot of times is in IPSC, a lot of ranges will have a rule where you can't point the gun over the berm or
down at the ground or whatever.
It can't be angled upward like this in a lot of other countries.
So they criticize the cover.
Yeah, so they'll criticize that, and a lot of tactical guys don't understand that when we're moving up range, this is the proper way to hold the gun so that you don't flag yourself or anyone else, where they would temple index.
I'm glad you brought
this
all up. I'm glad, Kita. I'm glad we're on this because we're going to stay on this for a second. Does it bother you, like our industry is so juvenile at times? Like at time we talk about this all the time. It's so childish and juvenile. Everybody picks everybody apart. You never see that in the NFL, in soccer, in Major League Baseball. I feel, and I've said for a long time in marketing, Kia, that's what holds our industry back, is you just have so many people that are children. It's you have what I want, so I'm going to take it from you. And they get so mad. That's not the way to do that. Well, if it works for me, if I could throw a flying armbar at you, it's still an armbar. I just don't get, I've never understood this. And maybe I'm a lay person, I don't know. I don't get it. Does that bother you at all?
Not really. I guess it's kind of like water off a duck's back for me, but
I like that. Water off a duck's back. But it's so childish. It's just so the industry's so childish, and it's always been that way. It's one of the things that's bothered me for a really long time, Kita. It's been really a passion play for me to kind of bring that to a lot of people's attention because I just don't understand. Like ultimately, like I feel like saying to people, who cares? Like who cares? Like like why do you care so much? If that works for her and that's what she's teaching and it's within the rules of the range, what do you care? But everybody gets such an emotional reaction, but it just shows the childishness, if that's a word, of our business and of the world that we're in. Everybody has something to say about everybody.
That does go on. But, people gravitate toward positive people, I think.
Well, I can appreciate you giving the good answer, but I'm not as good a person as you. I think everybody should just shut the hell up and mind their business. But I love what you're doing, and I love what you're teaching, because you're teaching something nobody else is. And I think it's really cool. I think you're ahead of the curve. I think it sets you apart. I think it makes you different. I think it's exciting, and I think it can show the most improvement in the shortest amount of time next to understanding fundamentals.
Yeah, it takes full seconds off your times, but of course you have to be able to shoot too.
Well, that's a struggle for a lot of people. In your classes, when you're traveling across the country doing this, do you find that people are super receptive to the type of teaching?
Yeah.
Good. No, it's awesome. I mean, that's totally badass. And I know you're working with a lot of shooters behind the scenes and some names you can't talk about and some private clients, but I think that that's really a testament to what you're doing and how you're changing the game. What other things do you have going on? Because I know you want to talk about the charity. I know you want to talk about a few things. What else do you have going on that you want to highlight this week? Because there's something going on this week.
Oh, I'm going to shoot nationals this week.
Say it proud. She's going to shoot nationals. And how exciting is that to be shooting nationals in a sport that you love, doing what you love? Because you said on the way here, you were like, I do what I love. And do you feel like that's that above all? I'm doing what I love, like that above. Yeah. I mean, that takes the place of any amount of money.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, that's really the common thread I see in a lot of shooters. And it's just that excitement. Like, you looked right at me like, I'm doing what I love. And I was like, right on.
I've had other offers for, jobs where I can make a lot more money than what I'm doing now, but I just have such a passion for what I'm doing. And I love the research aspect of it that I can tie in.
Does your family think you're crazy?
No, I don't think so. Maybe they do.
Well, I mean, some people, they're like, when they
talk
say,
about me behind my back.
Ma, dad, or auntie, uncle, whoever, they say, I'm going to go be a shooter, or I'm going to go do this, and this is going to consume probably 60% of my time. They're like, you're crazy. Like, don't do that. Or, most of the time it's a tattoo or something. But, you've managed to make this into something that's amazing. It's a business, and you do a great job with it. But shooting the nationals and getting to that level and getting to the point where you're competing at a high level, that has to be super exciting to be around those types of folks, because I look up to them. I think they're amazing that they can do what they do. I don't have the time to shoot that many rounds. I mean, It's really something. And when you go out there and you're shooting with them, do you feel like you need to win, or do you feel like you need to compete? Because there's a difference.
I know the shooter that I am. I'm honest with myself. I know that I'm just kind of an average shooter. I'm not, one of the top level guys going to win the worlds. But to me, I still take it seriously as a competition and do the best that I can do. And I compare my scores to how I did the year before at a similar competition. It's
good. That's healthy. I mean, because I know some people, look at, for example, like maybe Max or JJ or Shane, and they say, fuck him, I'll beat him. You know what I mean? And that's a competitor, someone who wants to get out there and beat them and strives to beat them, or Casey or some of the guys. I know you probably get out there and you're trying to grow as a shooter, grow as an instructor, continue to improve, get better. And the best I heard it explained to me by one person who has been competing a long time, he said, I'm a middle of the pack guy, but I'm okay with the people ahead of me. I know where I am. And I thought that was a good answer. I mean, it still showed a competitive fire, but at the same time, they understood their place and what they wanted to do and how they wanted to improve and how they wanted to get better. And it's tough out there because a lot of those guys, they're putting a lot of rounds downrange, to put it in perspective. They're training all the time. I mean, I've asked people all the time how many rounds they're putting downrange, and like Max has said, 8 to 10,000 rounds a month. And I'm like,
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I wish I could afford that.
That's what I mean. So, you're up against folks that's what they do literally every day. They're putting a case of ammo downrange every time they go train, and they're training 10, 15 times a month. And for the listeners out there, I'm trying to be real with you. They take their craft very, very seriously, and it's not that any other person doesn't. The limitations come into play, that you can only do what you can do, and you try to improve and get better every week. But that's awesome. That's a huge accomplishment, and you're not, you're walking the walk. You're not just talking the talk. You're getting it done, and you're competing at a high level. I love it. I love all of it. Now, Where does it go from here?
Well, I've been doing some international classes recently. I'll be going to South Africa all next month and Asia the month after that, shooting the Australasians in the Philippines with Armscore, Rock Island. And I'll be putting on a class in the Philippines as well.
Now, I want to ask you a difficult question. Aside from classes, I've asked JJ this. I'm going to ask Max this tomorrow. Shooting sports suffers a stigma, especially in marketing. It's not marketed properly. They don't do a good job making you guys the stars, in my opinion. They don't do a good job getting you guys out there. And in my opinion, it's because the inability for, whether it's the IDPA or IPSC, to publish and create an ESPN for shooting sports. And by that I mean they have to find a way to not only monetize the visual experience of it for you guys, but get the scores out there at a quicker time. What changed everything in the NFL was when they found the ability to put the score on television. And I know that sounds stupid, but when they started showing the score, everybody started to be more actively engaged and viewership went up. How, I know I have my theories on how, and I talked to JJ about this. How do they fix shooting sports to make it better?
Well, I think Top Shot became a thing because of I think it was Taryn Butler's original idea to have it be a reality show where they follow around the top guys for weeks leading up to a major competition and then follow them through the competition and video the super squad and how they interact and compete and treat each other and things like that. And that never happened. It turned into Top Shot instead.
Yeah. And do you think that's the formula? They need to get back to that?
I think something like that would be interesting. It would sort of, make them the stars, as you were saying.
I have a theory, and I want to run it by you. I ran it by JJ. I think the NRA has to get actively involved. I think the NRA has to stop with the whole fear-mongering, Kita. I think they have to stop with that whole angle, that whole approach that they take.
Sales by attraction.
Sales by, yeah. So I like where you're going with this. So I think they have to get away from that. And I think what they have to start doing is promoting the IDPA and IPSC by making it a sport and showing the sport and showing you guys as athletes and showing you guys as the stars. Because I've said it 100 times. If we were racing cars, we'd be millionaires. If we were hitting baseballs, we'd be millionaires. They don't do enough to make superstars. When you make superstars, you will attract people. And if they make it into a true sport, and they make everybody want to follow the sport of it, you will draw people to the range. You will sell tickets. You will draw people to the experience. And if they make it a true fan experience, and if the NRA got involved, they have the money, the means, and they have the ability, more so than the IDPA or IPSC. But IDPA and IPSC need to put their egos aside, and they need to trust their marketing to people that do it better than they do. And I'm not saying that's the NRA, but I'm saying somebody needs to be brought in, something needs to be created to make it almost like an ESPN where you have a landing page, you can track, you can follow your stars, then all the things that you're talking about will fall into place. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. They need to outsource to figure out how to promote the sports and to promote, well, it would show these guys are the good guys with guns.
Right.
You're
the
bad guys.
Yeah, and show and humanize it. And that's part of this show. That's part of what I tried to create is I have a lot of guests on. They're pro 2A, they're pro America, they're pro our rights, and they're not necessarily, card carrying members, but they're all for the right to bear arms. They're all for the right to wave the flag. They're all for the right to say Merry Christmas. They're all for those things. And I think they have to move in that direction of humanizing the person holding the firearm. Because I've met you, and you're a good person. You're a great person. I've met many people along my journey. Like you meet Julie Galoob. She's a great person. She's awesome. And she's a shooter. When they start to get to that, they're going to hit a home run.
Yeah.
But they can't get there. And a lot of it has to do with ego and old stodgy belt buckle and boot guys that, they want to sit there and everybody's an expert and we're fighting over how Kita holds the gun on the book and we're worried about who's special ninja forces and who's this and who's that and who has more. The minute all that ego drips out of the industry and we focus on getting it better, we're going to win. But all that has to come out of it.
I think there's going to be a large expense with setting something like this up.
Millions.
You'd need a camera crew. They'd have to be traveling.
Millions. But
multiple camera crews at multiple matches that are taking place simultaneously, or
but a
all
certain
over the
person
world.
that will remain nameless spends that on his suits. So it's doable. It's totally doable. Here's the deal. I think you guys are awesome. And I think you guys are killing the game. And I think the world of all you guys because you're progressing and moving a good part of the industry forward. But I don't think you get the credit and the due that you deserve for what you're doing.
Yeah, nobody cares if we win.
Yeah. And I think that needs to change because there's so many great up-and-coming stars. You have Ashley Ruark, you have Casey Eusebio, you have so many great stars out there. You have so many great people out there that are competing, and including the hunting community. You know, you have other great hunters out there. And it's just, the switch needs to be flipped. Everybody, the ego needs to drip out of it, and it needs to start to become about getting us to the next level, which is the mainstream. And the only way you get there is through the sport. Now people look at football and they see some of the brutality of it and they see the concussions and they see other things. But they did a great job commercializing it and making those guys gladiators. That's what they need to do. They need to create an octagon. I mean, if the UFC can make it a sport where people go in a ring and pound each other in the head and get paid money, and there's millions of dollars in that sport, you mean to tell me IDPA and IPSC, we can't get shooting there? I mean, come on. Let's be real. And it just blows my mind. But I wanted to get your take on it because I ask every shooter, every pro, everyone that comes in how to fix it. So I wanted to get your take on it. It's just troubling to me. But you made it here to Vegas right off the plane. You got on the show, and we're super excited to have you. And I think it's awesome to have you in talking about this. Now, there's other things you want to talk about. You want to talk about the Spec Ops charity, right?
Yes.
So why don't you get into that?
So the Special Operations Charity Network is near and dear to my heart.
There it is.
You can go to www.specopscharity.com, or you can go to Special Operations Charity Network on Facebook and click on the donate button. They are a registered 501c3 in good standing for several years. And they raise awareness and funds in support of individual emergency needs for our American Special Operation Forces and for their families. So if we have a guy who gets killed in action or injured while deployed, this charity helps take care of their families monetarily or any other sort of support that they need.
So why this? Why'd you get behind this?
Because I'm a veteran, and I think it's important to support each other, because the only people who know what veterans have been through are other veterans.
Right. But there has to be, you obviously have checked them out. You've obviously spent time with them.
Yeah.
So this is a charity that's obviously near and dear to your heart. What about this charity sets it apart from some of the others, and why this one? What is the big thing? I mean, do you have a story or something, that hits home?
Well, actually, they invited me to donate a couple of my classes to their charity, and then I looked into it, and I made the donation, and I met the guys who are running it, and these are legit dudes. Like, their faces are scratched out in the pictures kind of dudes.
Right.
So, I don't know. It's about the people in the organization that make it great.
So when you're choosing a charity, because a lot of people struggle with this, and this is something I kind of want to get your take on. We've seen Wounded Warrior, we've seen different ones come and go, and they come in and out of vogue and have their issues. This is one obviously you feel very strongly about. And you feel strongly about it because of the people associated with it and the time that they take. And have you been to events where you've literally seen them hand people checks or help people? And let the people know kind of why it hits home for you, more importantly.
Well, I don't know what to say.
No, I mean, have you been to like an event where...
Yeah, I went to an event, but it was a fundraiser. But they keep their administrative costs very low so that it can go to these families and the wounded and help these people out.
No, that's important because that's some of the dark clouds that follow some of these charities. And if they're keeping their admin costs low and you're familiar with the hierarchy, that says a lot because your reputation's on the line anytime you get behind one of these. I think you know how it goes.
Right.
So I appreciate you sharing it, but I didn't know if you had a personal story or personal connection to it.
Nope, it was just because they invited me to donate to them. So I checked them out, went to their event, and I thought they were a great bunch of people. And I liked how they were paying the minimum amount of administrative costs, so more of the donations go to the people it needs to go to.
So when you're not shooting and you're not on the range, what do you do?
Well, I have a daughter and a son. Not many people know about my son. He's 16.
How much time do you spend with them?
Well, I have them half the time. So I spend half the time with them just in weird chunks of time around
Do
my
they
classes. They have shot, but they're not really
They're not into it. Yeah, they're not like super into it. Would you want them to get into it or no?
I think it'd be fun. It'd be expensive, but it'd be fun.
Yeah. No, I mean, I wonder about that because people sometimes want to, not force something on, like, I don't know. I mean, Q, would you want your son to play football if you don't have, you have a daughter, but like, would you want that? I mean,
yeah, I thought about it, if I went that route, and I honestly probably still would.
Yeah.
Play,
I don't have kids that I know of. But
no comment.
No, that's not funny. So, but no, I mean, I wonder about that, especially with shooting, because if you're not into it, you're not into it. It's like any other sport. But you get them out to the range. Obviously, you've had them out to the range, obviously, and you have them see what you do. But it's one of those sports that's different and unique. I gotta ask Max about that because I don't know if his kids. I don't have no idea, but I have to figure that out. And then I know Michelle got little ones too. I wonder if her and Mike, if they would shoot. But yeah, I mean, that's something. I mean, it's like any other sport. I mean, do you force it on your kids? Do you take them? Hey, here's a firearm. Now, obviously, everybody always asks the question: having kids and having firearms in the house, do you train them on them?
Yeah, my kids can spout off all the firearm safety rules. They won't touch the guns at all unless they have permission, and then when they do, they pick it up and clear it. So they have very good gun safety, gun handling.
Because like Julie wrote like a children's book and everything. She has like a legitimate like kids book and the whole nine. I mean, it's a thing. It's a whole thing. So that's awesome. I mean, God, I'm so bad with that stuff. I mean, I feel like I would need Julie's book and a chaperone in my house. I mean, I would definitely be a disaster. I have to do a better job, everybody. I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress. But I don't have kids, so I don't have to worry about that as much. But, it's a lot of fun probably being able to take young ones to the range. I got to get a dog. I got to do something. Q, I got to do something.
Get a range dog?
Yeah, I got to do something. I need this in my life. But, it raises so many questions about family and shooting and just getting into the sport. And it's a great way to build and have a lot of fun and just, have like an out-of-the-box experience because you can't go play like tackle football with your kids. I guess you could, I mean, could you, Q? Could we do that? Could we? No.
I feel like that wouldn't be fair.
I think that's banned.
That's banned. Yeah, I don't think you can. Maybe flag. But you can go to the range and you can do stuff like that. But, I mean, besides hanging with the kids and doing stuff like that, what else outside of shooting do you do to kind of blow off steam? What do shooters do when they're not shooting?
I like to run. I like to work out.
So when you're not training, what else? What do you watch on TV? I'm going to humanize you before the end of this. What are you jonesing on right now?
Well, I did like the Game of Thrones series.
It's a sore subject in here, but the ending sucked.
Yeah, it did.
So Game of Thrones, what else?
I don't know. I don't really watch TV.
So what do you do?
I like to read books.
What have you read?
I'm reading the Throne of Glass series right now, which is a nerdy fantasy. Not that kind of fantasy, but like nerd fantasy.
Do you believe in conspiracy theories at all? because right now I'm stuck on the Kennedy assassination, and I can thank Jay Cutler for that. But I've been researching the Kennedy assassination. Do you do anything like that?
You gave up on the aliens?
I gave up on the aliens, Q. I went to see the Brad Pitt movie, the new Brad Pitt movie in outer space. That
You actually saw that?
bro, listen, changed my life. You know what they found in the end? I'm gonna blow the ending for all of you.
Don't be a spoiler.
They found nothing.
You bastard.
They found nothing. I love to go to the movies. So I go to the movies and I'll watch a movie completely, and I form like a really sturdy opinion on it, and I'll hold to that opinion. Like I'll be like, that sucked, and no one will change my mind ever. But yeah, I mean, I'm into all that stuff. So, I try to highlight, what people like to do outside of whatever it is that they're known for. And this is what you're known for. You're known for shooting. You're known for having your love for the charity. You're known for writing this book and teaching movement. But outside of that, you love your family, and you seem to really enjoy throwing of glass. And that's what you're jonesing on right now. But is there anything more that anybody needs to know about you? Because I feel like there's more. Tell me more.
Oh, of course there's more. I don't know. I like to.
Don't look in the notes.
I like to build stages.
So talk to me about that. So when you're building stages, do you try to make them as difficult as humanly possible because you know movement?
Sometimes.
And challenging?
It depends on what I'm trying to do. I usually think of a specific challenge that I want to incorporate into a stage, and then I build the entire stage based off of that one thing I'm trying to incorporate.
Okay, so break something down for me. I'm glad you're going into the stages. So when you look at someone like Tarano, you look at somebody that's ridiculously overweight. How do they move the way they move, and how are they so efficient? Are they just freaks at shooting?
Well, they are excellent shooters, but the difference is some people are explosive movers, and others need to shift their weight throughout an entire stage, sort of like maintaining perpetual motion, which doesn't exist.
So how do the fat guys do it that do it well?
They shift their weight in and out of position, and they're very good at shooting targets while they're moving their center of gravity. So they get to do when you think of shooting on the move, you're probably thinking of shooting while picking up and putting down your feet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they shoot on the move a little bit differently. They'll do that on close, open, easy targets, but then they get to these harder targets that most of us wouldn't be able to shoot on the move, but they shift their weight through, so their center of gravity continues on through the entire stage, but they pause their feet for that particular target.
Because I see JJ and all I see is feet, but I can justify it in my mind because he's skinny. I see like Shane, and he's like a brick shithouse, and I see him like running through the target. How do you coach? How is that the difference in coaching that? Because I know how to teach that from a football perspective, but how does somebody get to that point where you're coaching them and they're not like overrunning the target and everything? Like, how do you get them to stop and adjust and move? I mean, are they just such? Because I see like Taron, and he takes like 4 steps and he hits 5 targets, and everyone else has to like sprint to the spot. How is that like a contrast in how will you coach them differently?
You need to be able to do both. You need to be able to move explosively and control entries, but you also need to be able to shift through positions. And some people just can't move explosively, so then they have to be able to hit more challenging targets while shifting their weight. And if they can't, they're going to be behind.
Who's the best shooter in the world right now?
Eric Graffel.
Really? Who's number 2?
Well, I'd like to say JJ Ricasa.
Why?
Because he's cool.
Damn. Where do I fall?
I have no idea.
Am I the top 500?
Well, Maria Gushina, the Russian shooter, just came in 3rd place.
So when you're categorizing these shooters, are you looking more at just the top rank, or are you looking at all the total package? Because I know JJ reloads super fast. He moves super well. He's a great shot, obviously. But then I look at like Max, and I see him as a really good shot. Obviously one of, if not the best, pure shooter maybe. Just me, my own take. And I see, there's so many out there. KC is super. He's right on the cusp, I feel like, every year of breaking through. how do you create the total package?
Well, and they're all on different playing fields too.
Yep.
So Eric Graffel shoots production, JJ shoots open. So, it's like comparing apples and oranges. So
Totally. But that's what we do here. We're breaking the rules, Kita. So you say, JJ, like I would say JJ for if I was reloading, moving, his ability to just change adjust to targets. I look at Max as like pure trigger pull, like just just how he takes down a plate rack is just amazing.
Well, he flows really well through a stage. He never steps his momentum because he's long and lanky. So it's harder to have the explosive power.
So how does it end for you? You're going to instruct forever?
I don't know.
You can say yes. There's no wrong answer.
I would like to. My daughter said to me, she just turned 12, and she said, "Mom, what are you going to do for work when you're not pretty anymore and you're old and nobody wants to take classes from you?"
Oh, come on.
I said, "Well, it's what's in here that's important." Of course, the canned answer.
I always ask this. I mean, what's the end game? How does it shake out? Do you see yourself doing more teaching in the classroom? A lot of guys, they'll go to like a SIG, or back when there was Smith & Wesson, one of the schools. How do you see it shaking out for yourself? Would you want to work within the industry, inwardly facing? I mean, you got Vortex in Wisconsin, right? I mean, what else? What's near you?
I'm just very passionate about the research that I'm doing and implementing it.
Would you run a pro shooting league? Would you get into more, like I said, how long? I have to ask you, how does it end? I'm asked Max the same thing, and I ask JJ the same thing. I know JJ got the store, but where do you see it going from here? I mean, is there segments of, like, would you want to commentate if it ever came to that? Maybe start a podcast.
I've thought about doing a podcast.
Why not?
I'm pretty dry.
Yeah, but so what? You can, by the end of this, you'll be fine. Where do you see yourself fitting in at 40, 50, and 60?
I still want to be teaching classes. I might change my mind and then I'll find something else, but as of now, I'm doing what I love.
Do people compete at that age?
Yeah, for sure.
I have so much to learn. This is really eye-opening because there's sides of this business that I have not seen, and the movement side of it is definitely one of them. Now, book sales. Talk to me about that. Are you on Amazon? Where are you?
Yep. You can go to Amazon and look up Smart Move.
There it is.
There it is. Smart Move by Kita Busse, Economy of Motion for the Shooting Sports.
I'm going to have to wait till mine's deeply discounted because $41 is a little pricey. But I'm going to save my pennies, and I'm going to get a copy. No, you brought me a copy. I get to have this copy.
I did bring you
but
a
you're going to
copy.
sign this.
For sure.
I'm going to get a signed copy. So you're competing in nationals. Where can everybody find you coming up, and where will you be in the next couple of weeks? Give everybody places to track you down.
Well, I will be at nationals in Utah tomorrow. I'll be walking stages and shooting for the next 3 days after that. Fly back to Wisconsin Sunday.
Da-na-da-na.
Home for Monday, and then Tuesday I fly to South Africa.
What's in South Africa?
I'm teaching classes and shooting a match.
You should go shark diving.
That sounds cool.
Cage. Or no cage. Free diving with sharks. With sharks. Why don't you do that? When you travel, do you take advantage of stuff like that?
Oh, for sure.
You should do that. That's a definite. You should have an insurance policy, though, just in case a great white. Is that the...
that comes with your flight.
Q, I'm going to ask her the question.
Oh, shit.
What's the worst way to go? Burned or drowned?
Burned.
Wow. Overwhelming yesterday. I forgot to tell you.
I
John,
win.
was drowned. Overwhelming.
Now I'm going to add a wrinkle to it. Eaten by a shark.
Drowned, eaten by a shark?
Just eaten by a shark. Fire or eaten by a shark? You have to pick one right now.
I'm going to go fire.
You would take burning over drowning? No way, Kita. Rah.
I'd take drowning over burning.
She'd take drowning over burning.
I thought she said burning.
No.
But you would die of the smoke inhalation before you get burned.
See?
I thought
Somewhere Dr. Dave's screaming.
Wait a second. I thought you said burning, so you did say drowning. See? Everybody says drowning.
No, over getting eaten by a shark. I'd rather die of smoke
Well,
inhalation.
John's throwing the ringer in there. The original was drowning or burning.
So wait, Q, mark this because this is going to be a clip. So you can get you can drown, you can get burned alive, no smoke inhalation, just burned, or eaten by a shark. Which way do you choose to go?
Drown.
Thank you. Drown, drown, drown.
All right. I think it'd be much cooler if you said, "Here lies Kita. She was eaten by a shark." I think that's so much cooler. Like a great white. It can't be like a small shark. It has to be like a huge one. A megalodon. She was eaten by a megalodon.
What if you were getting attacked by a shark and then somebody tried to rescue you and they shot the
Oh,
shark?
fuck it. Just let me
with
die.
like a
at that
burning
point.
arrow, and then everybody got set on fire.
It's always something else, though, that's uncool. Like when you get bit by a shark, they say like the bacteria is so bad and like
Yeah.
you lose a chunk of your leg, but then you really lose all the leg because the bacteria infects the rest of your
You
body.
get sepsis.
Sepsis. Ugh. Ugh. Anyway, this is getting crazy. So, so listen, let me ask you this. The NRA's been in the news. There's been a lot going on with that and with Wayne and with everything. How do you feel about that? Any opinion? How do you want to fix it? I got to ask. We all love this sport.
I really don't know.
She's like JJ. She gives like a little bit of an answer, but not really an answer.
He's a tough one, man.
They're all too polished. You know what it is? They don't want to lose a sponsor. So I say my opinion because I don't give a crap. So you don't want to fix the NRA with me. What about this? What? Say it.
Well, the NRA does need to change its
Here we go. Go ahead. Here we go.
the classes. The
What would you do?
classes suck.
What would you do? Tell me how to fix it.
Well, they're talking about things that really don't matter for firearms instruction. I mean, I don't want to go and sit in a classroom for 3 hours hearing about the different types of bullets
No?
when I'm wanting to learn, like, gun safety.
So, Kita, I just put you in charge of all NRA instructing. How do you fix it?
Definitely cover gun safety, cover fundamentals, like, I mean, you need to actually go
Get out there and
shoot.
oh, that's a crazy thought. You need to get out there and do it, right? I agree with you. Come on, this could be a future job for you. I just put you in charge. How do we fix it? This is what has to happen, though, people. There has to be dialogue. There has to be dialogue about this. Everybody's afraid to kind of say something or have an opinion. And I think it's really important to start opening up the dialogue on some of this stuff. But I think you're right. People got to get out there. They got to shoot. It's trial and error. You have to take them out there and show them that the gun won't go bang. You know? Does the politics bother you at all of the gun industry?
Of course.
Well, I mean, what? What specifically? Come on, this is your chance. This is your big moment.
I don't know what to say.
You want to say something. The problem is, guys, a lot of these shooters are afraid to say something. But I'll ask. I give them the opportunity, and I give them the microphone, and I give them a chance to say something. I think you want to say that a lot of it's preposterous, a lot of it's ridiculous, a lot of the rules and the bureaucratic baloney that gets put in place is insane. Recently, NASCAR wouldn't publish or put out advertising that we had purchased here at K-Var, and it became a huge firestorm. I think the stigma that comes along with the firearms industry is a little ridiculous, and it's gotten out of control. And the only way to fix it is to get good folks like you to get up there and speak and talk about it and start to form an opinion and start to get out there and not be worried about losing a sponsor or losing place or face in the industry. And I don't think that you will. I think the industry will rally around you and support you. But I think some of the strong voices like yourself, JJ, Max, a lot of people have to start to rise up. And in the minute we get, strong shooters that have an opinion and start to voice it, I think that people will listen, and I think people will pay attention. But I think you're right. I think the NRA has to start to become more active. I think the classes definitely need a reboot. I think that's fair. I think that the minute that gets put in place, things will change. But it's going to take good folks like yourself stepping up and saying, this has to change. This is ridiculous. We're learning about 7mm cartridges, and there's no point in this. Nobody cares about ballistics. It's not a ballistics class. But I think they have to fill the dead air to justify the time and the cost and everything else that's involved, and they could fill it much, much more usefully by putting people on the range and actually having them shoot. So,
For sure.
yeah, I mean, I think it goes without saying. So you'll be traveling around South Africa. After South Africa, you have what going on? Is it just SHOT Show, and that's where everyone can find you?
No, I'll be in Asia.
Cambodia?
No, the Philippines for Australasians.
Okay, all right.
It's a
And then SHOT?
competition. And then SHOT.
All right. So everyone can find you at SHOT. What booths?
Arm Score.
Arm Score.
Arm Score Rock Island Armory.
Why Rock Island?
They're the same company. Well, they have two different companies,
Right.
same ownership.
But why do you like them?
Because they're cool people.
What else? You like their guns?
Well, I shoot it, don't I?
Right. But what do you like about them?
I like that it's got more surface area to hang on to.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Like, why should I go buy one?
because they're super affordable and they run.
Like, JJ gave me this whole breakdown because he's getting paid by Beretta now. He's getting good bread from Beretta. And he went out there, though, and he, like, totally ripped the gun apart. Like, do you go out to Rock Island and you're like, this gun's shit, and tear it apart? Or do you just kind of, like, shoot the gun and you don't really give too much of your opinion? Or how much cooking or doctoring to the firearm do you have to do?
All I did was change the front sight.
And you just run it. That's
Yeah.
good. I mean, it comes out of the box ready to go.
Yeah, they have a warranty or a lifetime warranty.
Lifetime. So Q and I are going to buy a Rock Island firearm. Which one do we buy?
I'm shooting the Match Pro,
I can't afford that.
but you,
I can't afford that. No, but take me through like which one I should buy if I'm just starting out, and which one I should buy if I'm rich like you.
well, you might want to look at the single stacks if you're just starting out.
Just
9
starting out.
millimeter.
How much? How much are we talking here, Kita?
I'm not going to give a price because I don't want to give the wrong price by mistake.
But give me a budget. I'm just starting shooting. What can I afford?
I know a lot of their guns are in the 600 range.
Yeah, they're reasonable. They have some reasonable stuff. They have some 1911 single stack stuff. But, I mean, how much should somebody, if somebody comes to you and they say, I'm just starting, what do you say to them?
Usually I give them John McClane's email.
All right. No, that's good. No, that's good. But, I mean, do you say, like, you got to have $1,000 or don't even bother getting in the game or, you know?
No, when someone's coming to me and they're just starting out in shooting, I tell them to shoot whatever they've got. Figure it out.
Figure it out. No, that's good. That's good.
You
And
can
then,
learn a lot. I mean, it takes a while before your gear starts to be what holds you back.
so how long? Like, how long do I need? Like months? A year?
It depends how hard you work.
Okay. All right. I like all these answers. All right. Q and I, we're going to get into competition shooting, and we're going to read the book. We're going to go to the range, and we're going to get better. But honestly, I don't know if I can afford one of these. I mean, they're no, I can get one of these. I like this thing, the Target gun. Here we go. So we're talking Rock Island. Get one of these bad boys, and we're talking somewhere between $600 and a couple of grand. You can spend some money on some of these guns. I know Max's is super expensive. It's like $3,000. His SIG. It gets pricey. Competition shooting. I mean, when I asked JJ, he clammed up because his gun's going to be like $5,000. But you know, no, it's not going to be $5,000. But it's expensive. You can spend anywhere from, just for everybody out there, you can spend between $500 and $2,000 pretty easily on just the gun, pretty simply. But all you had to switch out was the front sight. So Rock Island, everybody. Kita endorses them. What else? Who else do you want to plug, and what other sponsors are there, and what else do you want to shoot out there to everybody? It's your big moment. Boots.
I got Loa boots. They're awesome. They're
Sick.
waterproof. They're really high, so if I step in a puddle, it doesn't all pour in, or even sand, it doesn't all pour in the top.
So why are shoes and boots important?
Because I'm a movement coach.
There you go. What else do you suggest if we can't afford lowers?
Solomons are good. They don't last as long. They have a really soft bottom, which is great for sticking to a lot of different surfaces, different terrain, but they do wear out quickly. The Mudclaw Innovates are good.
Innovates. Does JJ wear Innovates? I think he wears Innovates.
He did. I don't know if he still does.
What about socks?
Well, I wear Loa socks, but they're wool. So any kind of a wool sock, something that wicks away moisture so you don't get blisters.
When you're competing, how many times do you change your shoes and socks?
Every day.
Every day. So, Loas. So if you have the opportunity to get out there and train, Solomons or Loas, good socks, invest in good socks, change your socks. And anything else you suggest or anything else?
I like the Hunter's HD Gold glasses. Have you heard of these?
No. Hunter's HD Gold.
They're yellow. They have these yellow lenses that let in a lot more light. So if you start shooting earlier in the day and the sun isn't totally up yet, or if you go late at night and it's starting to set, you actually get an extra 30 minutes in the morning and the evening of daylight that your competitors won't have.
Are they yellow? They're yellow frames?
No, the lenses are yellow.
We need those. We need those here.
They're in my backpack.
Yeah, we're going to have to check them out. We're going to need those. If you're out there and you're listening, send some. What at SHOT Show, so people can go visit you. You'll be doing an appearance at Rock Island. This is awesome. So everybody go check out the book, Smart Move. This thing is a novel. I'm going to have to go through it. It's a workbook. This is amazing. Next time she's in town, I'm going to have to take a class. Kita, will you teach me?
For sure.
All right. So we're going to have to spend some time together. Q will go take the class. I actually will watch from a distance eating Reese cups because that's what I do. Movement and me moving is not happening anytime soon because I'm fat. And getting around's not really my strong suit. I have to have somebody carry me. But I'm having a really good time kind of getting and understanding the different aspects of the sport, and movement and coaching movement is definitely one of them. I think you're on to something. I think this is a good area for you. I think you're going to kill it. I think you're going to crush it. And I think not enough people are taking the time to understand that. If somebody is just starting out and they can't afford the book, Kita, and they can't get to the range regularly, is there a couple of exercises they can do at home or a couple of movement drills or anything that they can do? Can you give anybody anything?
All right. If you're having trouble entering your position, if you keep overrunning your spot, there are a couple of little tricks you can do. One is you need to catch your weight before you set down your final foot. So whichever leg that is that you need to be catching your weight on so that you can just float your final foot down to the ground, you can actually enter that position and stand on one leg to shoot, not to practice it that way regularly, but just, once through to break the habit. Then the next time you do it, do the same thing, catch your weight on that one leg, and just slowly allow your final foot to float down to the ground. And the reason you don't want to stomp down or overrun your position, stomping that final foot down hard jars your sights and delays your shooting. And obviously you don't want to overrun your position because that delays your shooting and you're adding steps to your stage.
And if you're walking the stage, what advice can you give people just starting out that walk the stages and prep for a competition?
So walking the stages, the first thing you do is check the round count. Then let's say it's 20 rounds. You walk around the outside of the stage, locating every single target, and make sure you get the same number. So you got 20 rounds. Then you walk around the inside and make sure those numbers match. Because if you got 22, you saw the same target twice somewhere. If you got 18, you're missing one.
So you want to have the same outside as you have inside?
Yes.
Okay. So if I do that, and do you work on like stepping and running the stage at all or no?
Yeah. It's good to do a full speed walkthrough because things will come up a lot faster than you expect them to. And then you'll also find things that might trip you up, like a fault line or slippery terrain. I know I slipped and fell in a mud puddle in the Philippines last year.
Okay. No. Weather's
And I would
important.
have found that if I had done a full speed walkthrough. Then I would have fallen in the walkthrough instead of with a gun in my hand.
Did you used to walk the field queue? I used to do that. I started doing that like my senior year of high school.
Yeah, I did it. Same thing in high school.
Yeah, I started doing it. You walk the field, and it gave me a good sense of kind of where the divots were, where the spots were, because I still played on grass
Especially
sometimes.
on the road.
Especially on the road. Because I played on grass, and I would pay particular attention to the inside the hash marks, because that's where you did a lot of your work, especially in the positions I played. But no, that's important. And if anybody's going out and they're buying the book, are you available? Where can people find you, and where are you available?
You can email me at 180firearmstraining@gmail.com. I have a website under construction, should be up fairly soon. Once it's done,
There's the IG.
Once it's done, it'll be 180firearmstraining.com. But yeah,
And
that's my
Facebook too, right?
Instagram, and I'm also on Facebook as Kita Busse, and I have my training page, 180 Firearms Training, on Facebook. If you click on the events tab on my Facebook page, then you can actually see my list of upcoming classes. And that'll all be on the website. It'll really make the process easier to sign up for a class there.
Well, we've said it all. Q, did I miss anything?
I think we got it.
Well, everybody make sure you like and subscribe. Tune in everywhere podcasts are listened to. So make sure you head over to iTunes, leave a review. Kita, it's been awesome. I can't thank you enough for coming in and talking about the book, talking about the charity, spending some time with us. I know you got to get on the road and get to Salt Lake, and we're going to have some lunch, and we're going to horse around here for a little bit. But I appreciate you coming in. Yeah, no, definitely. Hi, leave it up. I appreciate it. No, it's awesome. And thank you for shedding some light on all that stuff. And everybody out there, go buy some boots and head over to Rock Island and get yourself a pistol and get out on the range and practice. I appreciate everybody, and I want to thank everyone at K-Var.com. Thank you, Q. And go visit K-Var.com and make sure you purchase some stuff, purchase some freedom. Appreciate you all, and we are out.